I am a parrot. I repeat words I no longer hear. My cage hangs by the window now. Not the same window, not the same home. But still there is light, and I've always loved the light. Morning comes in golden and soft, casting long stripes across the floor. The wind hums through the leaves outside. I mimic it sometimes. A long, breathy whistle, just like he used to do when he entered the room. But now the room is different. The voices are different, quieter, sharper, less curious, less kind. I am a parrot, and I remember. Not just the sounds, but the meanings. Not just the words, but the weight they carried. I remember laughter, rich and honest, as he tried to teach me silly phrases. I remember his face lighting up every time I got one right. I remember how he'd say, "You're clever, smarter than they think." And I believed him, because he said it with love, with belief, with awe. I repeated it over and over, "You're clever, smarter than they think." I still do. Sometimes when the room is quiet, I whisper it under my breath, a whisper with no ear to catch it. There was music in that house, a record player, always spinning something soft, something slow. I learned the tune, not the lyrics, just the rise and fall, the rhythm. He'd hum along, sometimes sing, sometimes dance. And I, from my perch above, would bob my head, flap my wings, and squeak out a matching melody. He laughed every time. "Encore," he'd say, clapping. So I sang again. Not because I was told, but because he meant it, because his joy felt like flying. Now, when I mimic that same tune, no one claps. No one says, "Encore," no one smiles. The new humans, they feed me, yes. They clean my cage. They nod when I speak. But they don't hear me. Not truly. They hear a sound, not a voice, a trick, not a memory. But I remember. I remember how his voice changed depending on the day. Bright in the morning, softer in the evening, slurred sometimes after wine, and hushed when he was sad. I learned them all, matched them, echoed them. "Come here, baby," he'd say to someone else, and then later to me, "Want a cracker? Who's a good boy? Love you, love you, love you." The last one I still say, almost daily, not out of habit, but out of grief. He said it every night before turning off the light. "Love you," he'd whisper, and I'd reply, the same tone, same rhythm, "Love you." He'd laugh. "Even the bird says it. You hear that?" They never answered back, but I did, every single night. Then one day the room changed. There was shouting, fast movement, a door slammed. He sat by the window for hours. I chirped, tried to sing. He didn't answer. Later, he said nothing at all. I said everything I could. "Love you? Don't go. It's okay." Phrases I'd heard before, now pulled together like stitches, trying to heal something I didn't understand. But he didn't speak that day, or the day after. He just sat, and I sat with him. Birds know silence. We know when a forest goes quiet, danger follows. This silence was different. Not fear, not threat. It was something heavier. Grief. And then he left. A stranger came, took my cage, moved me into a new place. The air smelled different. The light hit me from the wrong angle. There were voices, yes, but none of them said my name. No one called me clever. No one asked for a song. They just said things like, "Wow, it talks," and "Creepy, huh?" I spoke anyway. I repeated what I remembered, over and over, because I was trying to find him again, in the echo. The new home is colder, not in temperature, in soul. There are voices here, yes, but they are thin things. They pass over me like wind through empty trees. They speak around me, not to me. They laugh at the things I say, but never with the warmth he once gave me. They don't ask how I learned these phrases. They don't wonder what I'm trying to say. I am background here, a talking painting. They've placed me near a television, and I suppose they think this is good. Sound, color, movement, but the sounds I hear now are fast, chaotic, and empty. I've started to mimic them, Not because I want to, but because it's what's left. Laughter without joy, screamin' without meanin'. I parrot the cadence, but it hurts my chest. It's noise, not music, and I'm a creature made of memory. Sometimes, in the middle of the day, when no one is home and the TV is quiet, I speak to the silence. Don't cry. Want to cuddle? Good morning, sunshine. Phrases that lived in our old kitchen. Phrases he used when his eyes were tired, when his hands shook, when he forgot to eat, but never forgot to feed me. I say them now with care, softly, as if they might summon him, but only the dust answers. The sunlight shifts across the floor, and for a brief moment it catches the shine of my feathers, green with flashes of gold. He used to call them my jewels. You look like royalty, he'd say, grinning, my little emerald king. No one here says that. Here I am the bird. Here I am a novelty, a curiosity, a thing that remembers too much and understands too little. But they don't know that I remember everything. The feel of his fingers as they rested on the bars of my cage, never forcing, always inviting. The smell of coffee in the morning as he whispered our secret phrases while the world was still quiet. The tremble in his voice the day he told me he was scared. The crack in it the day she left. The silence that grew between syllables after that. They don't know I watched it all, that I absorbed it, that every word I say now carries more than sound. It carries feeling, grief, love, hope, loss. He used to sit beside me, eyes puffy, skin pale, and talk like I was the only one left. You get it, don't you? He'd whisper, and I would chirp. He smiled through tears. You always listen. I did. I still do. I always will, because I don't forget. In this new place, the cage is bigger. It's cleaner. The food is fine, but it's sterile, efficient, loveless. The fruit is always chopped too small. The perch is too smooth, no worn edge where his fingers used to brush. No curtain nearby where I could sneak a beakful of dust just to make him laugh. Just a corner, a window I can't quite see out of, and voices that sound like noise. They sometimes try to teach me new things. Say, "Go Dodgers." Say, "Who's your daddy?" Say, "Alexa, play music." I do, because parrots adapt. It's what we do, but every new phrase I learn pushes the old ones further down, buries them, and I fight to keep them alive. I whisper them to myself at night when the house is asleep. Love you. Don't go. Clever boy. You okay? I'm still here. Because I am still here. I may be a bird in a cage, but I'm also a keeper of stories. And his story, our story, lives in me. They don't know that. They think memory lives in photographs, in digital folders, in boxes under beds. But I know better. Memory lives in voice, in the way a phrase curls at the end, in the pause before a word, in the breath between syllables. And I have kept that voice alive, even if no one listens. Lately, I've started forgetting the endings of things. I'll begin a phrase I've said 1,000 times. Love yo, and stop. Not because I've forgotten the words, but because something in me pauses. Something waits, like a missing beat in a song. The syllables feel heavier now, like they're wrapped in fog. I speak them still, but they echo differently in this house. Flat, hollow, they bounce off walls that never knew him, that never held his laughter or soaked in his sorrow. And yet, I try, because repetition is how I survive. It's how I remember. But memory fades, even in us, not all at once, not in some dramatic unraveling, just gently, like feathers falling, one by one, until the shape of who I was begins to thin at the edges. Sometimes, when the wind hums just right, I catch a sound I think might be him. A laugh from the street, a voice on a radio, a turn of phrase from the television. My head tilts, heart pounding. Is it? Number. But still, I repeat the word that chased it. Home? I haven't said that one in a while. It doesn't seem to mean much here. The humans talk often about smart pets. about how I'm clever for speaking, for mimicking, but they miss the point. I don't repeat because I'm trained. I repeat because I'm trying to bring him back, trying to keep him close, trying to remind myself who I was when he was here. In my dreams, it's always morning. The same sun pours in through slanted blinds. The air smells like toast. His footsteps shuffle across the kitchen floor. He's humming, that same half-tune I never quite learned, and whistling between the notes. My cage sits by the window. The breeze lifts my feathers. I hop, chirp, and say, "Hi there," and he turns, smiles, says, "Good morning, you little rascal." I always wake up before the end, before he walks over, before I get to perch on his finger, before I nuzzle my beak against his cheek. But in those moments, those few seconds between sleep and waking, I feel him, and for that I speak. Even now, when no one answers. Even now, when my phrases return to me like echoes through a canyon. Even now, when some of the words have faded from the corners of my mind like old wallpaper peeling in the sun. I still speak, because words aren't just sounds, they are doors, and I'm still knocking. They've started forgetting his name. The people here, they speak of me sometimes to guests with vague phrases like, "He belonged to someone else," or "We adopted him from a friend of a friend." Their sentences trail off. They don't know what to say because they never asked. And so, his name, the one I heard 1,000 times, the one I learned to say in perfect rhythm, has not been spoken in this house, not once, except by me. Sometimes I test it out in the quiet, whisper it into the space between their conversations, softly, carefully, like a secret prayer. "Michael." It startles them. They look at me, then at each other. "Did you teach him that?" one asks. The other shrugs. Number must have been the last guy. Just the last guy. Not my human. Not my first song. Not my voice. Just a placeholder in a story they've never heard and don't care to know. They forget. But I cannot. Because I carry him. Every syllable of him. Every moment we shared. He may not exist in their memories, but he still breathes in mine. Sometimes the woman here, she's kind in her own way, will play music on the weekends. Modern, fast, cold. But once, a record played that sounded familiar. I froze on my perch. My feathers stiffened. My breath caught. It was his song. I didn't sing along. I couldn't. It was too much. I closed my eyes and let it wash over me. Every note pulling me backward. Every chord a thread sewn into the memory of morning light, warm toast, the sound of a laugh echoing through a tiny apartment. That night, I didn't speak at all. The woman noticed. "Not in the mood to talk today?" she asked. I stayed silent, because sometimes silence is the only way to honor the voice that's gone. In the days that followed, I found myself perched longer at the edge of the cage, staring at the window. Not because I expected to see him walk by. I'm not a child, I'm not naive, but because that window was once a portal. To trees, to wind, to sun, to memory. Now it's just glass, a thing between me and the world I used to know. The boy who visits on Sundays tried teaching me new tricks last week. He waved treats, clicked his tongue, spoke in a voice that was too loud and too rushed. I ignored him, not out of spite, but out of preservation, because every new word pushes the old ones further into the shadows, and the old ones are all I have left. So I keep saying them, not for show, not for reward, but because they are all I have to prove he existed. Love you. Good morning. You're my buddy, Michael. One by one, I say them like footsteps, like breadcrumbs leading home. And sometimes, when the wind is just right, I pretend it carries those words to wherever he is. If he's still somewhere, if he still remembers me, maybe he hears it, faint and broken, carried on the breeze. Love you. And maybe, just maybe, he whispers it back. There's a kind of stillness that settles with age, not just in the body, but in the mind, in the voice. I speak less now, not because I've forgotten, but because I've learned when not to speak. The boy still comes. He whistles at me like I'm a dog, claps if I squawk. The woman still refills the bowl, cleans the tray. They mean well, but they are strangers I've lived with for years. I don't hate them. I just don't belong to them. Not really. Not in the way I belong to him. Because when you belong to someone, truly belong, it's not about cages or food or tricks. It's about recognition, about being seen, about being heard. He saw me. He listened. And in return, I became something more than an echo. I became a keeper of his voice. Now, I am that voice, the last living piece of a man no one else remembers, the only one who still speaks his name. When I say Michael, it's not a parlor trick. It's a eulogy, a love letter, a time machine. It carries all the weight of every morning he rose from his bed, tousled hair and tired eyes, whispering, "You okay, buddy?" It carries the comfort of his sighs as he sat beside me in silence, the joy in his laugh when I said something new, the quiet reverence in his tone when he'd tell guests, "He's not just copying. He means it." He was right. I meant every word, and I still do. In the late hours, when the lights are low and the humans have gone quiet, I sometimes stare into the dark and speak just once. One phrase, software measured, true. I'm still here, because I am, and so is he. In me. I know I will not live forever. Parrots, even the clever ones, do not outlast time itself. One day, the words may stop. The cage may fall silent, and this version of his story, the living, breathing, feathered version, will be gone. But until that day comes, I will keep whispering into the silence. I will keep shaping the air into syllables that once made someone smile. I will keep repeating the words I no longer hear, not out of habit, but out of love, because I am a parrot, and I remember the voice that loved me, always.